I used to think being the dependable one was a compliment. In my family it meant I didn't make trouble. I paid my bills early. I didn't ask for help, I answered my phone. When something broke, I fixed it. When someone fell short, I covered it. No one assigned me the role formally. It happened gradually, like furniture accumulating in a room, until you forget what it looked like empty. My younger brother, Aaron, had been behind on rent before. It was never dramatic. Just a shortfall here, a late paycheck there. He had big plans and inconsistent follow-through. I had spreadsheets. The first time I paid his rent, he called me at 11:40 p.m. "Just until next week," he said. "I'm good for it." He wasn't good for it, but I was good for absorbing it. Over the years it became a rhythm. He would stretch. I would tighten. He would talk about opportunities. I would calculate the gap between what he had and what reality required. I told myself it was temporary. Families bridge each other's rough patches. What I didn't notice was that the rough patches were always his, and the bridge was always me. When the call came this time, it didn't sound like a request. "I need you to handle my rent for a few months," Aaron said. "Not could you? Not would you? Just need." "For how long?" 3, maybe 4. "I'm working on something big," he said, big, the way he always did, like the word itself generated capital. I was quiet long enough that he added, "You can afford it." That sentence lingered after the call ended. You can afford it. What he meant was you won't collapse under it. What I heard was your stability belongs to the family. I didn't say yes immediately. I said I'd think about it. That pause alone seemed to surprise him. 2 days later my mother called. Her voice carried that careful steadiness she used when she believed she was being reasonable. "Aaron told me you're hesitating," she said. "I'm evaluating," I replied. She sighed. "He's your brother." I waited. Then she delivered the part she'd clearly rehearsed. "He's applying for a business loan. 200,000. They need a co-signer. With your income, it would go through easily." 200,000. The number didn't even feel real at first. It felt like a typo in a text message. "I'm not comfortable co-signing that," I said. "You wouldn't be paying it," she said quickly. "It's just paperwork." Just paperwork. I had learned enough about contracts to know there is no such thing. "If he defaults," I said carefully, "I'm legally responsible." "He won't default." There was conviction in her voice. The same conviction she'd had when he started 3 different ventures that quietly dissolved. "I need to think about it," I repeated. There was a pause. Then the shift. "If you can't support your own brother," she said, "I don't know what that says about family." It was subtle. No yelling. No accusations. Just implication. I didn't answer. Then she added, softer but sharper, "Christmas won't feel right if we're divided like this." That was the first clear line in the sand. Co-sign or be the reason Christmas feels wrong. The holiday itself wasn't sacred to me. What was sacred was belonging. The idea that if I stepped outside their expectations, I would no longer be fully inside the family. After the call, I opened my banking app. I looked at the automatic transfers I'd set up over the years. Shared phone plan, under my name. Internet at my mother's house, under my name. A streaming service Aaron used, under my name. The electric bill at his apartment, also under my name, because he had once missed too many payments. None of it had been dramatic. Each decision had been framed as temporary. Together they formed infrastructure. I realized something uncomfortable. If I co-signed the loan, I wouldn't just be helping him. I would be underwriting him. I scheduled an appointment with my bank. The loan officer, a woman in her 40s with precise glasses and a voice that carried no emotional investment in my family, walked me through the numbers. "If your brother misses payments," she said, tapping the document, "the lender can pursue you immediately. This would affect your debt-to-income ratio. It could impact your ability to buy property, secure credit, even relocate." "Relocate?" I asked. She nodded. "Employers sometimes check financial liabilities for certain positions. And you'd be carrying this for years." There was no guilt in her tone, no reference to loyalty. Just consequences. What happens if I decline? I asked. Then the loan will depend solely on his qualifications, and if he doesn't qualify. She shrugged slightly. Then the bank declines. The clarity of that room felt almost shocking. For years, family conversations had blurred responsibility into emotion. Here, responsibility was itemized. When I left the bank, I knew I wouldn't sign. Telling them was harder than deciding. I called my mother first. I can't co-sign the loan, I said. Silence. Then, so that's it. I'm not saying I won't ever help. But I won't take on $200,000 of liability. You make it sound like he's a stranger. I'm saying I can't risk my future. There was a long exhale on the other end. If you can't step up for your brother, she said, voice tightening, then maybe you need some distance from this family. There it was. Not Christmas specifically this time. Just distance. I'm not stepping away, I said. I'm setting a boundary. That's a corporate word, she replied. Not a family one. The call ended without resolution. Aaron texted later. So you're really choosing money over me? I stared at the message for a long time. No, I typed back. I'm choosing not to be financially responsible for you. He didn't respond. The backlash was immediate but restrained. No shouting, just withdrawal. Group chats went quiet. My mother stopped sending the small updates she used to send daily. A week later, I received a notification from the utility company reminding me of the upcoming billing cycle for Aaron's apartment. I opened every account connected to my name. One by one, I removed myself. I canceled the phone plan. I transferred the internet account. I notified the electric company I would no longer be the guarantor. Each call was procedural. The representatives didn't ask why. They didn't care about Christmas. When Aaron realized the electric account was no longer in my name, he called immediately. He demanded. Untangling my finances. You're punishing me. No, I said. I'm separating. You know this will mess things up for me. I know. There was a pause, heavy with something between anger and disbelief. You've changed, he said finally. Maybe I had. A few days later, my mother called again. The bank denied the loan, she said flatly. I didn't respond. They said his income wasn't sufficient without a co-signer. I could hear the unspoken ending. You could have fixed this. I'm sorry it didn't work out, I said. Her voice shifted just slightly. Less authority. More fatigue. He'll figure something out. I hope he does. Christmas came and went without an invitation. I didn't spend it alone. I spent it in my apartment packing. 3 months earlier, a recruiter had contacted me about a position overseas. I had hesitated then. It felt irresponsible to move so far when my family relied on me. Now the reliance had been named, quantified, and declined. I accepted the job. The move wasn't dramatic. No airport scene. No declarations, just boxes. A one-way ticket. The first few weeks abroad were quieter than I expected. No late-night calls about rent. No urgent transfers. No subtle reminders of obligation. The silence was disorienting. I would wake up some mornings with a reflexive sense that I'd forgotten something. Some payment due, some problem to solve. There was nothing. For the first time, my income reflected only my life. Guilt visited occasionally. It asked whether I'd abandoned them. Whether I'd confused self-preservation with selfishness. But then I'd remember the bank officer's calm explanation. The weight of $200,000. The way my mother had framed love as leverage. Distance didn't erase affection. It clarified it. Months later, my mother sent a message. How are you settling in? No reference to the loan. No mention of Christmas. I responded with a photo of the city skyline outside my apartment. It's good here, I wrote. Busy. Different. She replied, I'm glad you're okay. It wasn't reconciliation, it wasn't apology. But it wasn't an ultimatum either. Aaron and I exchange occasional texts now. Surface level updates. No financial requests. Whether that's pride or growth, I'm not sure. What I do know is this: the power dynamic shifted the day I declined to sign that document. Not because I humiliated anyone. Not because I won. But because I stopped participating in a system where my stability was communal property. I didn't dismantle my family. I removed myself from the role of guarantor. There's a difference. Some relationships grow stronger under new boundaries. Some grow quieter. Ours are quieter. I don't know what future holidays will look like. I don't know if distance will harden into permanence or soften into something healthier. What I know is that my worth is no longer measured by how much liability I can carry for someone else. And for the first time, that feels steady.